where I first came across you, I sort of started reading up a little bit. I think you had a baby born prematurely as well. Is that sort of where that journey started for you?
Yeah, well, my little boy was born at 29 and 4.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, so like you, like really little. I didn't know they came that early. I mean, I was 6 weeks early, so I was born at 34. So I kind of didn't know that SCBU was a thing. I kind of knew that they could come early and it could be okay, but I had no idea.
Yeah, makes sense. And how did you sort of find the SCBU experience or the NICU experience?
Yeah, it was very difficult. I was quite unwell. I had preeclampsia quite severely, so I wasn't really allowed to go anywhere. And my little boy actually had to go to a completely different hospital to where I was in, and he stayed there he ended up being in like 3 different hospitals. So it was just geographically very weird being separated from him quite so quickly.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, and he wasn't very well for a little bit. He had neck.
Okay.
At the very beginning, but he just seemed to. It's just a roller coaster, isn't it? You just kind of develop as you go.
Yeah, definitely.
But like I read in the interview that you did, I read that you said that you found it difficult to be around other people.
Yeah, 100%.
Like completely the same. I couldn't go into the communal areas. I didn't want anyone to talk to me. I didn't want to make friends. I just kept myself to myself.
Yeah, I'm exactly like the thought of like starting a new job or anything like that just fills me with dread. But it just really became clear that I just could not talk to anybody. Like my wife, I think she found quite a lot of comfort in talking to the other mums and like maybe just offloading how she was feeling to other people. But for me, it was just the exact opposite. I was like, I can't do this at all. It was really hard. So
the talk in the breast pumping room just drove me up the wall.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I guess what were your most sort of vivid memories from that neonatal care? So did you end up seeing your son at all in hospital, or was you always apart from him?
No, so I think he was 5 days old, 4 days old when I first met him.
Wow.
And then, but we didn't get to hold him or have him out of the incubator until he was 2 weeks old.
Right. Really. Wow.
So it was really weird, like getting to know this little baby who you think, in my mind, I was like, oh well, I made him.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was, but it was like getting to know a completely separate person, which. And then when you start doing the cares and things, you start slowly becoming a parent, I think. You start slowly taking over that responsibility. So it was really bizarre, but now it seems a solid foundation for the kind of parents that we are and the kind of kid that he is.
Yeah.
So it's really strange because he's nearly 2 now. So we're looking back on it with a little bit of hindsight, which is starting to get normal rather than being in the thick of it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a strange thing. Like I say, I've never had children before or since. So this is kind of my only experience of fatherhood, and I kind of feel like everything, like every little milestone they get to, I'm like, oh, this is amazing. Like, I can't believe they've done this. And I don't know if I would have been like that anyway, or if it just feels a little bit more special because I know that they've come from such a like traumatic beginning, really.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And I even think that I think my family like him more because of the journey he's been on.
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
he's definitely the favorite, and I always wonder whether that's because of who he is or because of the trouble that we went through.
Definitely, I agree. It's just everything, like I say, just seems a little bit more special, and there's a little bit more of a bond with everyone as well, just seeing where they've come from.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah, like I said, I sort of came across your little writing project. Was it you, and SCBU? So I guess could you tell me a little bit more about that and where the idea sort of came from?
Yeah, well, it seemed to me like we were lacking a community of SCBU parents, and like you said, I didn't know anything about children. I had no kids before or since. I don't really have didn't have many dealings with other people's kids, and so I didn't really know if this was not normal, but I didn't know how many people went through this, and I felt like I didn't have a point of reference to talk to people about it. And there wasn't very much, there wasn't any counselling on the unit, and there wasn't anyone else to talk to in a professional capacity at all. So for me, the project, it came out of a funding stream from Literature Wales, and they fund projects that improve well-being in the community. And so having come through SCBU, it just seemed really logical to think that I identified a group who I think needed that well-being and mental health support in SCBU parents. And it was kind of an excuse, really, for me to get a load of people around to talk to me about going through SCBU. But one of the things that I found really reassuring whilst on the unit was reading all the cards that people had sent in with, they'd send a card in of their kid who's just graduated from university at 21, and they were born at 26 weeks, and it was really emotional reading about their journeys. So what I wanted was to create an anthology of people writing about their journeys, so that we could all feel like we're part of this community together, even if we're not experiencing it at the same time, or even if you don't want to leave your ward to go and talk to anyone. And so you could just read this book. So we haven't printed the book yet, but we did 6 sessions in North Wales with parents from the unit, and it was just to get people talking about it, I suppose.
Okay, great. So, like you said, there's plans to publish a book from it. So, what would you say the best thing that was to come from that project was, and how the other parents found it?
Oh gosh, I mean, I think the best thing in the long run is going to be the anthology, because for me that really is the legacy of the project, is having those written accounts, and we're really lucky that we've got funding to put a copy in every unit in Wales, and so everyone hopefully will get to share in this experience, and I'm hoping it will create more of a dialogue around how we feel on the unit, even if you don't have to talk to the people who are there at the time. I think it'll be just a way to escape into what other people have been through, and think, oh, maybe what I'm going through is more normal than I think it is, or different aspects of the unit that might crop up in the same people's stories, and make you feel a bit more familiar with it. But I didn't anticipate how positively everyone would react to the project. Everyone who's spoken to me about it really likes the idea. The parents who took part in it, they really found that it helped them work through some of the problems that they'd been going on. I mean, some of the kids were much older. I think the oldest kid who we were talking to the parents of was about 24. And so these are people that are still dealing with the aftermath of SCBU, and allowing them to have that outlet and talk to other parents off the unit just seemed like it just normalised their experience of parenthood, I think, which was just excellent to see, and great to be a part of and facilitate.
Brilliant, yeah. Like I say, I've spoken to a few different people actually, and it does seem like it's something that kind of stays with you. Like I saw somebody tweeting about it the other day that I think their child was 11 now, and it was still, oh yeah, it never leaves you, it's always with you. So that's really interesting to see that. Like I say, it was one where the parents had gone through it 24 years ago. So yeah, I mean, the nurses always said to me, oh, it'd be a distant memory.
28 now, my mum.
Yeah, but like you say, you can kind of, I don't know, it does seem easier as time goes on, but you still look back on it and think, how on earth did that happen? How did we get through it?
Oh, absolutely. I still don't understand how we got through it. Like, me and my partner are still together, and I think that's amazing.
Yeah,
I don't know how that happened.
Yeah, it does have a lot of strain on the relationship as well. I found that really hard myself, because like I could see that my wife had gone through something like so traumatic. She was really struggling with it, and I was struggling with it, and I knew I had to be like strong for her, but like I also had 2 newborn sons that were like fighting for their lives as well, and I was like, oh, like who do you go to? Basically, I had to try and split myself 3 ways. It was really difficult.
Absolutely. I saw that same thing in my partner. Like we've talked about it a lot, and we've done a lot of work with ourselves about it. But it wasn't easy in the first instance, because it's hard, isn't it? Because I felt I was really unwell, and I felt I'd gone through this physically traumatic thing. And then there's your partner, who you also want to be there for, who's going through this emotional turmoil and a very difficult time in everyone's lives. I think it's hard to balance, isn't it?
Definitely, yeah, 100%. I think that's something that I've learned a lot of people seem to go through, but again, I find not a lot of people are really that keen to open up and talk about. So I guess that's probably why I kind of want to try and write a bit about that. So I found, since that sort of experience I went through, I found like writings, I'm a writer anyway, I do it for a job and stuff like that, but I find it quite therapeutic and cathartic to kind of get my thoughts out and just write it down. It kind of just flows out of me, and it feels like a weight's left my shoulders. Do you think that that's something that can help parents through this kind of experience? Is it something that helped you?
Oh gosh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think if you are a writer, I think it's just very natural for us to want to write about what we're going through. And it was part of already being an artist and being a facilitator that made me want to talk to other parents in that particular project. But even on a personal level, like keeping a diary throughout the journey of SCBU really helped me. Not only because I was getting my thoughts out on the page, so they weren't necessarily just like sitting up here and I didn't have to go and speak to somebody else, I could just write it down. But also looking back on them now, it's made me remember little bits that were nice.
Yeah.
Like it helped me keep a log of what was going on. Like I remember the very first song I ever sung to him in the incubator because I wrote it down, whereas I wouldn't have remembered that. And it's also allowed me to access some of the happier moments of being on the unit, I think.
Yeah, brilliant. So I guess like for me, when we first got to the unit, we had to move. Our boys got transferred about an hour away from our hometown, so we kind of went. My wife went in an ambulance, and I went over a bit later on in the afternoon, and we were there for a couple of weeks. And like you say, like you just think it's all bad, but one of the doctors said you're going to have bad days, you're going to have good days, probably both in the same day, kind of thing. So I guess what would be some of the positive memories you've got from your experience? Because I think people just automatically think, oh, it's so stressful, it's so traumatic, which it is, but there are some positives as well.
Yeah, I think it's something that comes with time, isn't it? You said your little boys, they were on the unit for a little while, weren't they?
Yeah, so they were in Sheffield for 2 weeks, and then we moved back to our hometown, Scunthorpe, and they were there for like just over 7 weeks. So yeah, it was about 9 weeks in total.
Yeah, I've noticed a difference because with that project, we did parents who had been on the unit for any amount of time. And I realised that some of the parents who had only been on the unit for maybe 4 or 5 days, or maybe even just 2 weeks, they thought about it like it was a horrible period of time.
Yeah.
But we were on the unit for 3 months.
Right.
And I think there's something about longevity, isn't there, that you can't just have a nightmare for 3 months. It doesn't happen.
Yeah, true.
Some of the little things that I think have stuck in my mind were like being able to introduce him to people properly. I think was a big one. We got to know him really well. Like I knew by the time he came off the unit, I knew all of his feeding schedules. Like I knew what kind of care, I knew what kind of things he enjoyed, which I think it let us have that space to become the parents rather than being fully in the newborn session right as soon as he comes out. I think that ended up being good for us. But even little things like I remember the nurse telling us, we went out for a meal. We'd probably been in the unit about 2 months by this point, and it was our anniversary. And we went out for a meal, and the nurse turned around and said, "You can just get pissed." Like you can go and get pissed. It won't affect your breast milk. You're fine. Just go and get pissed. You'll be all right. And it was just little moments like that were they've really stuck in my mind. Or how people can make something so massive feel just normal.
Yeah, we did a similar thing actually. One of my friends, he got married abroad while we were in hospital, and when he got back, he had like a party. So we were going, oh, shall we go? The boys are in hospital, and the nurse was like, "Yeah, go. You're never going to get babysitters as good as us ever again. Go on." And we're like, "Oh, no, I don't know if we should go." And they're like, "No, you better go. Go on. It's the last time you get out for ages. Go." and they were actually discharged about 3 or 4 days later, so it was a good job we went early.
Oh God, yeah, absolutely. I never get a babysitter like that.
Yeah, definitely. So I guess just going back to your project, so it's kind of a local thing to you. Is there any plan, or do you have any sort of ambition to do anything similar again, maybe on a bigger scale, more nationwide, maybe sort of online kind of thing? Is there any sort of plan to do anything similar?
The wellbeing project has started out like a bit of a pilot now, because I've now seen how necessary it is. And like I've only recently really got back into Twitter, so seeing like posts from yourself, and there's quite a lot of conversation about the NICU SCBU journey on Twitter, which is not a sphere I'd really been involved with, so I didn't realise how big it was. But I would like to do a lot more. At the moment, my next plan is I'm going to write a one-woman show about SCBU and the journey and motherhood and how that kind of started. And I'm hoping that that'll be another vehicle I can use to like go into community centres and go into like baby and toddler groups and to start having that conversation. And just really, I think my goal really is just start normalising that access to parenthood. Because like I remember when I was pregnant, and people would just they would just get rid of all negativity. They'd be like, "Oh, you're gonna have a perfect birth. It won't hurt. Like your breastfeeding's not a problem. Don't worry about it. It'll just happen naturally." And I kind of want to deconstruct that, because I don't think it's helpful for anyone, and I don't think it's realistic.
Yeah, I agree. We sometimes see like TV adverts for baby products on TV, and it's like a happy little family and the baby's giggling, and we just laugh our heads off at it, because we're like, yeah, that's not what it's like. It's really
I don't think that's what it's like for anyone.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy, like how differently you envisage it to when it actually happens. It's
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So hopefully there will be a lot more. I'd like to do something virtually. I'd particularly like to do something with dads. Maybe not me per se, but like maybe enabling another dad to take on a similar kind of project.
Yeah.
I'm not precious. I don't feel like it has to be me that leads anything, but I do think this is a conversation that we all need to start having.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, when I was going through my experience, I didn't really find much was directed at dads, which I can understand, because obviously it's the mother that gives birth, and obviously it's an emotional time and stuff like that. But I did feel like I was going through this experience, and I was like, is this normal? Like, do other men feel like this, like other dads? And when I first wrote that article, I got like an email that says, "Oh, it's just been published here. Like, thanks for sending it out." I was like, "Oh, what I've done." But the amount of people that sort of got in touch and were like, "This is amazing. Thank you for talking about this," was really like reassuring. So I guess it does prove that there are men that go through that kind of thing, but it's a typical man thing of burying your emotions deep inside you and not wanting to let them out. So I guess, yeah, something like that would be brilliant.
No, I know what you mean, and I think also from the mother's perspective, it was really hard for me to gauge where my partner was at.
Yeah.
Like I didn't know if it was overwhelming. Like similarly, I don't think there was much emotional support in general for parents. I found a lot of physical support. Like people were very willing to go and get me a sandwich, or they like show me how to use the pump, or get me a glass of water, and that's fine. But like nobody seemed to want to sit down and with my partner discuss like how's he feeling about having all this strain, and like coming home to an empty house when we were still in hospital and things like that. Is like, yeah, I think there's a lot more work that needs to be done on getting people's mental health straight in the unit.
Yeah, agreed. We were quite lucky actually, because when we were in Sheffield, there were actually some like little flats available, so we were able to stay there, and we was literally around the corner from the ward where the boys were. And there was also a counsellor there as well, and we did have like a counselling session. I think it was in our second week, and that was really like helpful for us in terms of being able to like just talk about what we were going through, talk to each other, like how we felt. But once we moved back, we did actually we had another one booked in, but because we moved back to Scunthorpe, we kind of lost out on it really, and I think that's probably where we both kind of fell back again a little bit. So I guess, yeah, I'd agree that sort of more needs to be done around the mental health aspect.
Absolutely. When I proposed that project to Literature Wales, I was doing the research on it, and something like 60% of parents feel that their mental health was adversely affected by being on the unit, and that's just too high.
Yeah.
Like, for my liking, it shows that there's no infrastructure there, and I think projects like that one and like blogs like your blog, they go a long way to ensuring that people don't feel too alone, that the information's out there.
Yeah, definitely, I agree with that. And I guess you mentioned earlier around like the sort of looking at the cards and that people had sent in was quite like a positive experience for you. We found the same thing because one of our sons had he had quite a bad brain bleed. It's like a grade 4, and obviously I was like, well, what's going to happen? I didn't know if he'd survive or anything like that. And weirdly, we sort of looked at these cards a few times already, and then we just spotted one that we'd missed. And it was a little boy who was from our hometown, actually, and he'd had the exact same thing. And there was like a picture of him. I think he was like 7 or 8 now, and he was fine. And we was like, wow, that's like weird that that's there. And it kind of really picked us up a little bit at that time because we were feeling really low. So I definitely agree with you that it's nice to see like the success stories kind of thing of people that have sort of come out of that experience.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, even when we were doing the anthology, we had a vast array of people. Like, most of the parents had been on the unit as well, but like one of them was the doctor on the unit, one of them was a nurse on the unit, another one run a charity that's based on the unit and stuff. So we had a mix of experiences, not just of parents, but people who work there. And it was really interesting seeing people who maybe didn't have a positive outcome also getting quite a lot from the sessions, like being able to talk about their grief or being able to talk about the negative as well. And like you said, it's just talking about it. I think that people need to realize it's just normal part. It's a normal possibility. It's just a consequence of something that might happen, rather than being like, oh, it's a terrible thing.
Yeah, I agree. It just seemed like an alien world to me at the time. But I think, is it like 100,000 kids a year end up on a unit?
Oh yeah, 1 in 10.
Yeah, so as you say, it is a pretty normal thing, really. I guess there's different levels of how severe it can be, but I think it's just like an awareness thing, really.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you mentioned about the anthology. Is there any sort of timeline on when that's going to be available, when it'll be published? I guess the lockdowns maybe affected that a little bit, has it?
Yeah, it has. And the one big part of the project for me was we got a photographer in to come and take pictures of the families that are involved in the anthology. Unfortunately, our second photo shoot was due mid-lockdown.
Right.
And obviously, because a lot of the kids are shielding.
Yeah.
Like, we're shielding, we can't get all out together to do it, and I don't want to forego that, so I'm just waiting now to see when we can do that bit again. But everything else on the anthology is raring to go, really, so we're just looking for the pictures. But it's a really important part of the anthology for me, because we got harassed by the bounty people. and we didn't get to take pictures, and all the pictures that we've got of him from that young, obviously he's covered in wires, he's covered in tape, and all kinds of other stuff, and so I don't want to miss out on that opportunity. So once we can all get together and do that photo shoot, then we'll be ready to go. But I'm hoping definitely by the end of the year.
All right, brilliant. Yeah, so I'll definitely keep a lookout for that. It'd be great to see it come to fruition. Yeah. So yeah, I guess probably most of the things that I'd like to ask you. I guess the last one will probably be if you had sort of any advice for parents that have got babies in a unit, what would that be, or message you would give to them?
Honestly, I think we got given the best advice is just to take each day as it comes, and they do everything that they want to do, and they're going to do. These little people do everything they're going to do in their own time. I think it's one of the most important things. I'm on quite a lot of Prem support groups on Facebook and stuff now, just to share experiences and questions. And one of the things that comes up all the time is like, oh, they haven't come off oxygen, or they're not taking their feeds, or they've got gas, or they're not quite well. And they do just do everything exactly when they want to do it and when they're ready to do it. And there will be no rush in them. or pushing them.
Yeah.
They're just going to do it, and just have faith and just stay there and support them every step of the way.
Yeah, perfect. I agree with that, definitely. Well, yeah, like I say, thanks for taking the time. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, sure, it's fine. Whenever, that's great. Really appreciate you asking me. It was nice to speak to you.
All right, brilliant. Thank you.